All right, folks, if any of you know me, you know I don't spend a lot of time worrying about Europe, but Europe has always been the bellwether for what's to come here in America. The left knows this, and they are freaking out right now.
His party was handed a humbling defeat at the hands of the anti-immigration and ultra-conservative National Party. And then in Germany, Chancellor Scholz saw his Social Democrats party score their worst result ever. The change inside the European Parliament could make it more difficult to pass new legislation around issues like climate change.
And they're freaking out over like the dumbest stuff. They are literally coming out and being like, this is about the stupidest things ever. Energy costs in Europe, folks, have more than doubled. Their factories can't compete. Gas, or as they call it, petrol, is like $9 a gallon. They're more worried, though, about fake things like climate change. Oh, this is going to be the end of climate change, rather than real problems. And they don't learn. They didn't learn from the failure of their positions, and they definitely didn't learn when the UK broke out of this whole crazy thing. So why do we care about all this here in America? That's the question. Well, because Brexit predated Donald Trump. Remember that win over Hillary Clinton? And the climate, no pun intended. The climate across Europe now is a lot like 2016. How? Well, and this is the problem, though. It's like waves in an ocean, okay? The pendulum swinging. The world elects someone like Donald Trump, Milei in Argentina, Bukele from El Salvador. These guys come into power. They destroy globalist agenda. Look what Trump did. He fixed crime, lowered taxes, shrank government, basically made your life a whole lot better, and everything's going great. Some lib comes in and runs against them when things are really good, and then promises you like a whole bunch of good stuff on top of that, like very socialism-y kind of things. Turns out none of that actually works, as we're seeing with Joe Biden. So after these people get elected, everything goes to hell, and you get exactly what you see in the EU right now. You got wide open borders, which we also have here in America, mass migration to such an extent, though, in Europe, that the customs of an entire continent are literally getting wiped off the grid. And a lot of people are just going along with it. But a lot of people are sick of it. And when the people who put those policies into place get voted out, they're like somehow shocked by it. Turns out in Sweden, where rapes skyrocketed after the Syrian refugee crisis, more than half the offenders were born outside the country. And this weekend's elections prove how annoyed people are with this. And I'm going to get to why this is all but guarantees Donald Trump to win next presidential election. But I want to start with an unlikely ally in the immigration war. A country that hasn't done any real good for us since they gave us the Statue of Liberty. That's France. For the last 3 decades, they have been on this super progressive slide left, and they're upping their carbs, too. Big union contracts, unsustainable pensions, unmitigated Syrian migration, refugees from other places, too, which led to Charlie Hebdo shooting in Paris, where, in a country that, strangely, doesn't allow guns at all, had fully automatic weapons mowing people down in the street. Not to mention, their country is completely unrecognizable and has seen a massive spike in theft, in rape, and in murder. Farmers have been crushed under this regulatory statute to an extent where they're literally spraying down government buildings with crap. They're parking tractors like 12 deep in the street. You can't even get by. Energy prices and the EU's net zero failure have people on the verge of revolution against this green agenda, and especially in France. This gave rise to Marine Le Pen and her party displacing just this weekend over 30% of the globalists in their parliament, just this weekend. And this is how the winds were painted today by all the media. Far right. Really? What's crazy is she's not even far right at all. In fact, she's pretty socially liberal. I mean, she's still European and French. Le Pen's just done with open borders. She's done with crime, done with globalism, done with the green energy push of this net zero crap. She just wants to have people be able to compete in the global market and not have their customs and their culture and their history destroyed by mass migration from places that don't like them. But I guess that's called being far right these days. I mean, it literally is the populist movement. It's said best by the godfather of that populist movement, who maneuvered the UK's exit from the EU.
There's an historic battle going on now across the West, in Europe, America, and elsewhere. It is globalism against populism. And you may loathe populism, but I tell you a funny thing, it's becoming very popular.
You see the parallels? And with this forecast of what's to come here in America in about, I don't know, like 5 months, Elon Musk's graph has never been more relevant. People have had it. A lot of them are staying quiet because they work in corporate America, they don't want their lives ruined or destroyed, but the amount of people who have absolutely had it with the same stuff, like the green agenda, like the stupid pronouns in bio and the Rainbow Brigade, the full-grown men twerking in children's faces on school-sanctioned trips, and the double of population, I guess, of Manhattan flowing through our southern border every single year. People are so done with that. And it's not just America. It's certainly not just France. In fact, this weekend, it was like all the EU. And look, I'm so here for this. I am so here for them just tearing the globalists right out of their offices and watching them cry. France, Germany, Austria, Belgium, Ireland, they all lost major globalist seats. It was fabulous. We're also, I mean, like, look, all these governments right now are scrambling to completely reconstitute their governments because so many in the populist party and their candidates, they won. Like, you ever feel like you're raising your hand, like you're the only one thinking like, hey guys, this is crazy. You're not alone. You're not alone in Europe. You're not alone in America. You're not alone in most of the world right now. Everybody thinks this is crazy, and somehow these people are still diving into the shallow end of stupid over it. This election here in America is going to show everyone that you're not crazy, they are. Unlike what the globalists are telling you. They're trying to tell you that everything you think is somehow bad or wrong or whatever. But if that were the case, things would be getting better. But they're not. They're getting worse. And Thomas Sowell once said, there's no solutions, there's only trade-offs. If you want to be progressive and allow unchecked migrants into your country, some of which are on the terrorist watch list, by the way, in the name of humanity or global, whatever these people call it. The trade-off is a higher cost of living because someone has to pay for that. And you have a lot higher crime in the places these people are going. That trade-off is coming now. You're seeing it. Should be no surprise why. But watch the shock on this CBS anchor's face when she finds out just how many of us are done.
The 62% of Americans favor deporting all undocumented immigrants. So Homeland Security says that President Biden has already deported or repatriated more people in the past year than any year since 2010. And then, depending on the details of what's talked about on the campaign trail, some of what Mr. Trump talks about could be illegal. It doesn't seem practical in some sense to round up children. And then we know that the courts have questioned whether local authorities would have the ability to do it, and federal authorities don't have the resources. So what exactly do people think they're supporting?
She just filibustered her own show because she was so I don't know if she didn't review that stuff before she got on TV, but the liberal elites don't even know just how much you and I are done with all this stuff. They can't call 62, well, they can call us all racist, but that doesn't make us racist. That makes them in the minority. The populist folks here in America may not take to the streets like BLM and these Hamas crazies outside the White House, but we vote like our lives depend on it, because they do. This progressive slide has woken up a bunch of people that just wanted to be left alone. That's the difference between the two parties. The right, our policies make things so star-spangled awesome that people get comfortable and then they don't show up to vote in the next election. The left makes things so bad that people end up voting Republican.